The Armstrong and Getty Show. Thank you for tuning in. We're joined by Craig, the Obamacare lawyer, Craig Gottwals. We've got a link to Craig's information should you need his professional services dealing with benefits and that sort of thing. Craig, how are you, sir?
I'm well, Big Freedom. How are you?
I am more than well. I am thriving. So listen, before we get on to your topics, I'm looking at a history of Ebola outbreaks, lab accidents, etc. And here's one notable case. This is 1996 in Gabon. The long and short of it is 19 people. Well, I'm not sure 19 people came across it, but a group of people came across a dead chimpanzee in the forest.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. And decided that they were going to eat it. And 19 people involved with gathering it up, and the butchery of said chimp became ill, and more than half of them died. I'm picturing the scene where you're walking through the forest, and you come across a dead chimp. Chimp carry-on.
Oh boy, you can't hardly blame those people. I mean, who could pass that up?
Well,
right?
You're standing around looking at it. You're probably sniffing it a little bit. How's it look to you? I don't know. It looks pretty fresh to me.
You pick the maggots off of it. I'm sure it's good to go.
Kick it a couple of times. I don't know. I think it's pretty fresh. And you decide to eat some dead chimp. Man, that is a lifestyle I cannot imagine.
And you do it with no bun or anything. It's animal style at the In-N-Out Burger.
Very nice. I'll bet the guy who said, "Dudes, we got to not eat that chimp. We got to leave it behind." He was really gloating as all those people died.
He was ridiculed at the moment, too. You know, they were like, "Come on, you wimp. It's just a little chimp. Come on."
Yeah, no kidding. They probably called his manhood into question.
They really did. I
just
could
shut up and eat it.
Yeah, we just, come on. Eat the damn thing. It's good food.
Take an arm, at least. Take an arm home. All right, so, Craig, you and I were riding our bicycles the other day up and down mountains and panting like old men. And you mentioned a couple of brand-new laws in the Banana Republic of California. Laws and regulations. What first? How about the driver's license craziness?
Well, I love the context of, we don't have enough laws in California, so the governor signed 931 new ones into law a couple weeks ago.
Fantastic.
He, to his credit, he did veto 142, which is 13.5%. And that's the high water mark for Governor Brown in his second stint as governor here.
Well, what's the fun of having one-party government if you're going to, veto too much?
Let's just slap 1,000 more in every chance we get.
Right.
Yes, I was doing some research from the context of what of these laws would be most impactful to employers, and I came across a couple that were really you wouldn't think would be impactful to employers, and I thought your listeners might enjoy them too. Last year, our legislature and Governor Brown passed a law. It's called AB 60, and it is the law that I think you guys have talked about and you've heard about, and it's driver's licenses for illegal aliens.
Right. Took a while, but there it is.
There it is. Now, that actually doesn't go into effect until January 1 of this coming year, and the fun little dispute that's going on there is that California's Department of Motor Vehicles wanted to pass this law. They wanted to have it out there. But the federal government, specifically Homeland Security, was not comfortable with California issuing legitimate driver's licenses to, thousands of illegal aliens.
So the state of California wanted them to be absolutely indistinguishable from citizens' driver's licenses, right?
That's right. California was most concerned with our discriminatory intent.
Right.
And they didn't want to have anything that you could distinguish between driver's license A and driver's license B.
Right. Their goals were purely utopian, but Homeland Security wanted some difference. So
yeah, Homeland Security was at least purporting to want to monitor our border and said, no, we've got to do something. So it actually began a 9-month negotiation between those two stellar beacons of bureaucratic efficiency.
Right.
And the long and short of it was they came up with an annotation. The illegal driver's license will have 3 words in the upper right-hand corner. Those 3 words are federal rules apply.
Okay.
Otherwise, the two licenses will look identical. Now you say, well, how does this – that's interesting, Craig, but how might that apply to employers? Well, now that we have 2 different kinds of driver's licenses in our state, those with the FRA, federal rules apply, and those with not, California decided, well, you know what, we have to do absolutely everything in our power to make sure our employers don't discriminate against illegals. So California went ahead.
Yeah, we could stop there and kind of go off on a tangent.
I thought you might.
Are you telling me that in spite of the laws of the United States of America about employing people who are not illegal, who are not lawfully in the country, the state of California is indeed passing laws exactly the opposite, so that there can't possibly be a rejection of the application of an illegal? Is that correct?
There's no doubt in my mind, Joe. When you read the legislative history on this, it's clear that California was number one concern was how do we make sure that this annotation is not used to discriminate against illegal aliens so that they can get all of the possible rights we can give them.
Well, fiddle-dee-dee, but go on. What law has been passed to ensure that?
Eat a big old monkey meat steak, doesn't it?
I tell you what, yeah, raw monkey sushi.
So what California did in response to the federal government saying, no, look, we got to put these 3 innocuous words on the license, was California said, okay, then we're going to add another law to our books, and that law says that you, employer, shall not ask to view a driver's license of an applicant unless, A, it is required by law, or B, it is absolutely essential to the business function of your position that you're filling. Now, that creates a whole nother fun thing because most liability insurers tell the employer, look, if you have jobs where these people are going to be driving, like let's, for example, say you've got an architecture firm and you've got engineers and architects driving to job sites.
Every day,
we want you to make sure those people are licensed and insured. So we want you to check their driver's license for your insurance contracts.
Because if you send Joe the engineer to a job site and he gets in a fiery wreck on his way to it,
guess who's getting sued?
The company, right?
That's right, Joe the engineer and the company. So you got liability insurance companies saying, hey, look, you need to be checking that these people are insured if they're driving around. And now you have the state of California with a new license. Thank you, with a new law that says you absolutely can't do that unless it is essential. And they go on, you say, well, what's essential? Essential means if you could do the job in question with public transportation, then employer, you'd better not be asking to see a driver's license.
Wow. So if I could take 3.5 hours on public transit to get to the job site in my work as an engineer, instead of driving 20 minutes, well, then you can't ask me for a driver's license.
And the way they accomplished this was by adding this to the area of discrimination we already had on our books called national origin discrimination. They said, look, this is going to expressly be national origin discrimination if you ask to see these driver's licenses when you don't, in fact, absolutely have to.
So, it's funny because, your business is liability and benefits and stuff like that, and we've gone to that, but it strikes me that as an employer, if Joe Smith is going to work for my company, I want to know that that's Joe Smith and not, Osama bin Laden or John Wayne Gacy
That's
or whatever.
Right.
But you cannot do that by law now. Make sure they're who they say they are.
You cannot ask to see their driver's license. There are still I-9 requirements, federal immigration laws you must follow as an employer. When you basically hand an employee a list of different types of identification, and they get to pick 2 that they can show you. But you cannot now specifically say, I need to see your California driver's license, unless, of course, you are a common carrier or something where it's required.
But immigration documentation is one of the things you can ask for, but you can't ask for a driver's license because it might show their immigration status.
I don't have the I-9 list in front of me, Joe, but it's a list of there's like 5 to 10 different things they can produce to show who they are. And it doesn't have to say, look, I'm necessarily here lawfully. It just has to say who I am.
Right.
Yeah. So California, again, a lot of fun.
Wow.
A lot of fun we're having. So a lot of people have heard about this law, but employers hadn't thought. And I've been I really just uncovered this one last week, and I started talking to some of my clients about it and saying, look, you got to change your policies because you can't be asking for that, even though your insurer wants you to ask for that.
And just the example you gave me when we were chatting off the air was that if the secretary, it gets hired and is told as part of the hiring process, listen, for years the person in your position has stopped on the way in and gotten bagels for the office. We'll pay for it and everything. That's no problem.
Right.
And she gets in a wreck pulling out of the bagel shop.
Yeah.
And she's completely unlicensed or whatever. It doesn't matter. But then liability-wise, the company is on the hook, but they can't get insured if they can't check that everybody's licensed.
You got it. And that was actually, I was at an employer symposium for employment attorneys like myself, and that was the example they used, is they said, hey, don't think you can just say that this job requires somebody to drive. And that was the example they said is, hey, just because the secretary gets bagels every morning or every Friday or whatever doesn't mean she couldn't do that on public transportation.
Oh, so, right, okay. So
maybe with the bullet train, Joe. Maybe the bullet train will take you right to your place of employment.
Wow, so if it's even conceivable you could take public transport, then that's not essential to the job. And blah, blah.
Right, and you'd better be very careful.
Is this going to end up in just tons and tons of really expensive lawsuits, you think?
I wouldn't even venture to guess. It's another thing that causes difficulty for employers, because now we got to go back and have this discussion with our liability insurers who, this is new to them. They operate in 49 fairly sane states, and then when they come to California, they go, what? Really? You guys did that? Yeah. All right, listen, we're already running late. Let's do it real quickly. The whole words removed by the California Senate thing. Yeah, California over the last 10, 15 years has gone through and removed the words that the state of California finds offensive.
Anything politically incorrect.
Anything politically correct. So historically, we've removed words like idiot, imbecile, lunatic, mental retardation, mentally retarded, etc. The latest slew of words legally removed from all of our statutes and codes, which, this isn't going to be free to go through and remove all these words from these hundreds of thousands of laws, are insane, feeble-minded, mentally disordered, and mentally defective. And what I thought was funny in the new law that said you no longer can we use mentally disordered. However, you can call it a person with a mental health disorder. So you can remove the two words. You can't use the two words, but you can use 6 words, including those 2 words.
Right, exactly. Just a longer phrase with the same words.
Yes. Now, how does this impact employers? This is basically the state coming out and saying, hey, these are new words that we consider to be potential evidence of discriminatory intent. So it's probably going to be a good idea for employers to make sure they're not using these words in their, if they're an old-timey healthcare provider or something like that, make sure they don't have any of these words in their policies. But more importantly, I can foresee that it's going to probably be important for employers to add some training to their sexual harassment training on, hey, let's not use this list of words
right.
that the state has said are now stigmatizing in some way.
Right. So if Sean books 3 Ebola guests back to back to back, and I say, are you insane? We can't do that. Then that is harassment.
That is evidence of a stigmatizing word is how our state wants to call it now.
Right, and the lawyer moves in, sues the company or stations or whatever, makes a ton of money, and I'm a hater because I said, are you insane? Because that's now an unapproved word. Okay.
They did give us some really cool, like, for example, you can say person with an intellectual disability or persons who are mentally incapacitated, and those actually work out to P-Whammy and P-Wade, which I think are...
P-Whammy.
Yeah.
So in that earlier instance, I would say to Sean, are you a person with a mental disorder?
Yeah.
Hostile work environment, Joe.
Well,
no, that's approved.
Wait,
I can't say
person with an intellectual disability, Joe. Get it right, or I'm going to have to come down there and administer some discipline.
Well, I thought, oh my God, my dreams are coming true. I'm looking at your article here that I realize you're still editing, but so I can't say, do you have a mental disorder? But I can say, are you a person with a mental disorder? I mean, for instance, or
that's exactly right. That's what's hilarious about this law is that if 6 words will do, then that you have to use that. Can you imagine your junior high English teacher just shaking her head at you right now?
Oh my God! How's your utopia coming along, California?
Oh, it's coming right into Nevada is what it's doing.
It's coming beautifully. All right, Craig, the Obamacare lawyer. Craig's information, if you need his services, professional or otherwise, links to the articles he writes and stuff like that. They're always fun. We've got that at ArmstrongandGettyRadio.com. Hey, thanks, Craig.
Thanks, guys.
Talk to you soon, bro. Okay. I'm telling you. It's just completely insane. Almost 1,000 new laws for the Banana Republic of California. I tell you what, we're going to perfect society. We're going to perfect it if we drive every single job out of the state. We're going to perfect our society if it takes every man, woman, and child in California being sued by every other man, woman, and child in California. We're going to build heaven on earth. We can do it. We just need more power. This is the Armstrong and Getty Show.